So tell me if this sounds familiar. Your investment team uses Affinity to keep track of all your deals, but they also use Notion to write notes and basically keep track of all their other information. With Whalesync, you can sync Notion with Affinity, so your team can use Notion to write meeting notes and have it all show up Affinity, so Affinity stays your source of truth. Let me show you quickly what that looks like. So here on the left, I've got Affinity, I've got a person named Jeremy with no notes, and here on the right, I've got Notion with a notes database set up. So now if I add a new note, let's go ahead and call this one maybe note 1, and let's associate it with Jeremy. And let's open up that Notion page so we can write up our meeting notes. So maybe we say something like, meeting went great. We should lead the A. Something like that, right? We get to do this in Notion, our tool of choice. And back over on the Whalesync side, because we have this two-way sync set up, Whalesync will look for that change, and when it sees it, sync it over into Affinity. So I'll pause here for a minute to let Whalesync notice the change. It usually takes a minute or two, and then we'll come back in a second to see what it looks like. And we're back. So you can see here, Whalesync says last change synced 7 minutes ago. So Whalesync noticed the change. It synced the note from Notion into Affinity. So let's go take a look at what that looks like. So remember here in Notion, we wrote meeting went great. Let's take a look at Jeremy, open up the notes. And there we go. Meeting went great. We should lead the A from Whalesync testing. So that's really it. That's how Whalesync syncing between Notion and Affinity works. You write in Notion, it syncs to Affinity. And again, if you have two-way sync on, you can actually go the other way as well. So if we went and deleted this note, in a minute or so here, Whalesync will pick up that change over in Affinity, and there it is, instantly deleted over in Notion. So in the rest of this video, I'll go over a little bit of the details around how you set up that sync, but hope you enjoyed the quick overview, and let us know, reach out at support@whalesync.com if you have any questions. All right, so we just took a look at what syncing notes between Affinity and Notion looks like. Now let's get into how that actually works with Whalesync. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up Whalesync here, and you'll notice, as you saw before, we have a base and it's syncing Affinity and Notion. Let's talk quickly about how that's set up. So if we go and edit this, you'll see the fundamental pieces of a Whalesync base, which is essentially a sync between two tools. So first is connecting our apps. You wanna connect Affinity with an API key, Notion with OAuth. It takes just a few minutes. This is really, really easy. From there, you'll want to map tables. So this is where the actual data bit comes into play. So you'll notice here some of the things that you're probably familiar with Affinity already: lists, notes, opportunities. And all you're telling Whalesync is these things in Affinity, I want them to sync with corresponding databases over in Notion. So again, if we take a look at the Notion side of this, you'll notice I showed before a demo notes table. Same idea for lists, opportunities, organizations, right? These are all populated because of our sync. And this is really all we're telling Whalesync. So if we come back here, we're just saying those databases we just looked at in Notion should sync with these things over in Affinity. Here in the middle, we can set the sync direction. If we wanted to only sync one way, if we want to just sync out of Affinity, that works too, or vice versa. But obviously two-way sync is pretty cool. So the last bit is mapping fields. It's similar to mapping tables. It's just one layer deeper. If we take a look at our notes again, we can see what that means. So again, let's just pop open this note. So if we take a look at our Notion database, the note has a title, an association of people. This is before how we associate it with Jeremy specifically. A content field, a record ID field, right? These are the types of things that we might want to sync. One more look, you might want to look at like an opportunity, right? An opportunity might have a list it's associated with, people, organizations. You know, you can kind of use your imagination there. So if we go back to Whalesync, similar idea, we're just mapping the field and saying these are the ones in Affinity we want to sync with the fields over in Notion. And whenever we're done mapping those fields, we can hit Save Base and turn it on. From there, Whalesync just works in the background. Again, it starts up and then just watches. It looks for any changes on either side to keep your data in sync. But really, you shouldn't have to think about it much unless there's some sort of error that Affinity or Notion doesn't want to sync, and that'll pop up on your issues page. But that's a quick overview of how Whalesync works. We're excited to talk with you and set up your Affinity Notion sync or any other syncs you are interested in. Speak soon and hope this is helpful.